Donc, le principe du désherbage mécanique dans la vigne, dans le fond, c'est de créer une bande de terre sur le cavaillon qui est meuble puis qui est facile à entretenir par la suite. Il faut faire attention, s'il y a des débris, ça peut prendre en feu. Donc, il faut y aller à une période là, que c'est moins dangereux. Mais vous voyez que c'est quand même assez lent.
Ce qu'on veut aussi, c'est limiter le nombre d'outils de sarclage mécanique parce qu'il y a un coût énorme à l'achat. Limiter les coûts de main-d'œuvre. Si on a des outils qui sont moins performants, qui vont demander plus de main-d'œuvre pour sarclage manuel, c'est évalué. Après ça, contrôler les vivaces dans la vigne, ce que j'ai observé cet été dans les sites qu'on a fait, c'est qu'il y avait des vivaces partout, en fait. Un point qui est important, qui n'est pas assez fait régulièrement, je pense, par les entreprises, c'est d'ajuster les sarcleurs aussi, en saison, en début de saison, selon les stades de culture, selon les mauvaises herbes. Sarclage mécanique, dans toutes les productions encore, c'est un genre de compromis entre la précision du travail, la vitesse de travail, la profondeur de travail qu'on a, puis les fréquences de passage, selon les outils qu'on a. C'est un peu semblable, en fait, dans toutes les productions. Chaque fois qu'on le sacle, mettons, à 1 km/h, ça représente 1 hectare par jour. Fait que quand on est capable d'ajouter la vitesse, c'est comme ajouter 1 hectare de superficie possible à sarcler par journée.
Ce que ça nous dit, là, c'est que la nappe d'eau ne doit pas fluctuer dans ce 2 pieds du haut, qui est ce qu'on veut pour la vigne. Hein. Donc, tu sais, du côté drainage, là, ça regarde assez bien. C'est le premier coup d'œil, tu sais. Mais mettons, en dessous, vous pouvez avoir du gris avec des mouchetures, tu sais, des marbrures, là, des taches oranges. Ben là, il y a la lumière drainage qui doit s'allumer tout de suite. Mettons, vous avez des marbrures qui se situent ici. Lumière, drainage doit s'allumer. Mais si vous êtes dans un champ qui est déjà drainé avec des drains souterrains, puis qui a été bien drainé, le bon espacement des drains, les marbrures, elles vont rester. Vous allez les voir aussi. Donc, à partir du moment où il y a des drains souterrains, les marbrures, ça vous dit que le sol était initialement mal drainé, naturellement mal drainé, mais vu qu'il y a des... Ça disparaîtra pas. Le sous-solage, c'est très utile, puis c'est très dangereux en même temps.
How do you identify vigor issues? When you look at it, what do you look for to decide whether the vine is growing weakly, is just right, or is growing too vigorously? People who can grow grapes well, be they in Nova Scotia, Quebec, Ontario, even British Columbia, I can take a grower from there and move them anywhere around the world, and they can adapt very quickly to that environment. But I can't take someone from Texas or from California and drop them into this environment and say, grow me grapes that are in good shape, because they're thinking production, they never think about winter. Yeah. For hybrids, these internode lengths are very good. Like when you're looking anywhere, if you're starting to get 15 centimeters or more between nodes, then you got a vigor issue. We will never hedge closer or do any major leaf removal in the upper part of the canopy within 30 days of harvest. When you cut it within 30 days, lateral buds will break. Every one of these leaves that will grow over the next 30 days take energy. They don't add back to the plant. So what carbohydrate you want to fill in the fruit is being partially diverted up here. It's staying there. It's not functional. It's using water. It's grabbing sunlight. A leaf has kind of a life like a person. The first 30 days, I'll say 25 days, as it's growing, it's like kids in your house. They eat and eat and eat and eat. They really don't do anything. So you say at 25 days, get a job. Go to work. So it does. So for the next roughly 50 days, that leaf is very effective of making more carbohydrate than it's ever using. And then it gets tired. At about 75, it says, I want to retire. Well, what the leaf does, it doesn't drain from the plant, but it will only ever produce enough energy to keep itself going. But it's not adding back to the system. Never be afraid when you're hedging to take out leaves in the center part of the canopy, ever. 2 trunks, but they should be of different ages. To mature any fruit cluster, you need 12 to 15 mature leaves, not 12 to 15 leaves in total, 12 to 15 actively mature leaves.
But is there some climatic impact that can be done just before?
Well, your impact here is that recognized from fruit set to veraison is when all your acids accumulate within the berries. And then generally what happens, the reason that your acids change later on is that there's malic acid degradation, but there's not really any new formation. The reduction in acid often when you go later is that the berry is also getting bigger relative to the amount of acid that's within the berry. Boron deficiency and boron toxicity give you the same symptoms. We have had people applying boron thinking they're deficient, and they're actually adding to the problem. We do not use any granular boron. We will only use liquid boron, but we apply it to the soil.
And one of the typical physical changes that you could see in a plant, and you could tell during acclimation, is periderm. So lignification, the bark on the plant, on the shoots. If you go out to the field and you start to see periderm formation, you could say the plants are starting to harden off and they're getting ready for winter. A lot of acclimation, and they will acclimate deeper just with the cool days and the shorter days. And it just the genetics of that species. Then what happens is we reach our maximum cold hardness period during the coldest months. And from a lot of the research that's been done, it's actually when the plants are ecodormant. So they reach their maximum hardness usually in January, February, and at that point the plants aren't endodormant, they're ecodormant. So it's a really interesting concept. That's where actually they're the most cold tolerant. You know, what's the advantage of snow? What's the disadvantage of snow? Can someone figure out an advantage or disadvantage of?
It's a good insulation, but it melts.
Good insulation and it melts. And then knowing what you know about deacclimation, if it's warmer environment under that snow, you've now may have compromised the vine once the snow is gone. The other thing is warm tissue or brown, and later in the season, you've got brown wood, and that's going to, from radiant heat, it's going to melt the snow, and you end up with little holes around the vines, little frost pockets. And so you can end up killing your trunks because the cold air just settles there and it's like putting your vines right in a freezer. And you've probably experienced this, that with Frontenac or some of the very cold tolerant varieties, that they're immune and they're going to get through winters just as easy as other hybrids or vinifera even. Because I'll show you some data about how these different varieties respond to warm winters.